The MRI results that landed on Tom Trbojevic desk 3 weeks ago weren't just concerning, they were career-ending, the kind of medical diagnosis that turns a 28-year-old superstar into a ticking time bomb every time he steps on the field. But according to leaked documents from inside the Manly Sea Eagles organisation, the club has been hiding the true extent of Turbo's knee damage, while pushing him to play State of Origin one last time so they can cash in on his star power before the inevitable retirement announcement that's allegedly already been drafted and is sitting in a lawyer's office waiting to be released. Before we dive into this absolutely heartbreaking story that could end one of rugby league's greatest careers, quick favour. If you're loving the content on Unpopular Aussie Opinions, smash that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers watch without subscribing. It costs nothing, but means the world to us. Did you hit it? Legend. Thanks so much. Now back to the main event. Tom Trbojevic is allegedly being forced to retire at just 28 years old due to catastrophic knee damage that Manly has been hiding from the public, and the leaked medical reports that have emerged paint a picture so devastating that it's got rugby league fans absolutely heartbroken and furious at the Sea Eagles for allegedly prioritising money over their superstars' long-term health. Picture this. One of the most talented players of his generation, a bloke who when healthy is arguably the best player in the NRL, has been playing through knee damage so severe that doctors have reportedly told him continued participation could result in permanent disability that would affect his quality of life for decades to come. We're talking about torn cartilage, bone-on-bone grinding, and structural damage that no amount of surgery or rehabilitation can fully repair. And according to explosive allegations from inside sources, Manly's coaching staff and medical team have been managing Turbo's condition with painkillers and anti-inflammatory injections, while encouraging him to play Origin for New South Wales so the club can maximise his value before the retirement announcement makes him worthless. Stick around, because what we're about to reveal is one of the most unethical and heartless stories in modern rugby league. And trust me, by the end of this you'll be demanding accountability from everyone involved in this alleged cover-up. Now, to understand the tragedy of what's happening to Tom Trbojevic, you need to understand just how special this player has been when healthy. Turbo isn't just good, he's generational talent, the kind of player who comes along once every 20 years. At his peak, Trbojevic has been the Dally M medalist, a State of Origin star, and a player who single-handedly wins matches for Manly with his incredible combination of size, speed, skill, and football intelligence. He's been compared to the greatest fullbacks in rugby league history, and many experts believe that if he'd stayed healthy throughout his career, he would have gone down as the best fullback to ever play the game. But injuries have plagued Trbojevic throughout his career, particularly to his hamstrings and more recently his knees, and each setback has chipped away at his ability to perform at the elite level that made him a superstar. The leaked medical documents that are now circulating among rugby league insiders tell a story that's absolutely heartbreaking. According to these reports, Trebojevic's knee damage is far more severe than what's been publicly disclosed by Manly or by Turbo himself in media interviews. The documents allegedly show extensive cartilage deterioration in both knees, with his left knee being particularly damaged to the point where medical specialists have described the joint as structurally compromised. The reports mention that Trbojevic is essentially playing on knees that are decades older than his actual age, with wear and tear typically seen in retired players in their 40s or 50s who've had long careers of physical punishment. The prognosis, according to these leaked documents, is that continued high-level competition will inevitably lead to complete joint failure that would require multiple reconstructive surgeries and could leave Trbojevic with chronic pain and mobility issues for the rest of his life. But here's where this story turns from tragic to absolutely infuriating. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, Manly's medical staff and coaching team have known about the severity of Trebojevic's knee damage for months, but have been managing the condition through aggressive pain management rather than recommending the retirement that medical specialists have suggested. The leaked documents allegedly include communications between club officials discussing how to keep Turbo on the field long enough to fulfill his $1.4 million contract, and how to maximize his value to sponsors and broadcasting partners before his retirement becomes public knowledge. We're talking about a club that's allegedly prioritizing financial considerations over the long-term health and well-being of their most valuable player, and if these allegations are true, it represents one of the most disgusting examples of player exploitation in modern Australian sport. The pressure on Trbojevic to play State of Origin for New South Wales despite his deteriorating knee condition is particularly controversial and speaks to the broader issue of how clubs and representative teams treat injured players. Origin is the pinnacle of rugby league, the matches that players dream about participating in, and there's enormous pressure from fans, media, and officials for the best players to be available regardless of their physical condition. According to the leaked information, Manly has been actively encouraging Trbojevic to make himself available for Origin selection, knowing that his participation would boost television ratings, increase merchandise sales, and maintain his profile at the highest possible level before the inevitable retirement announcement. The club allegedly sees Origin as one last opportunity to cash in on Turbo's star power, and they're willing to risk his long-term health to make that happen. Social media absolutely erupted when rumours of Trbojevic's potential forced retirement started circulating, and the reaction has been a mixture of heartbreak for Turbo and absolute fury directed at Manly's management. Fans who've watched Trbojevic's career have been posting tributes celebrating his incredible talent and lamenting how injuries have robbed rugby league of seeing him reach his full potential. At the same time, there's been intense anger directed at the Sea Eagles organisation, with supporters demanding investigations into how the club has managed Trbojevic's medical care and whether they violated any duty of care obligations by allegedly pushing him to play through catastrophic injuries. The hashtags calling for accountability from Manly's management have been trending for hours, with former players, medical professionals, and rugby league journalists all weighing in on what they see as an unacceptable situation that never should have been allowed to develop. The financial implications of Trbojevic's retirement for Manly cannot be overstated, which helps explain why the club has allegedly been so reluctant to face reality about his medical situation. Turbo is on a $1.4 million per season contract, making him one of the highest paid players in the NRL and consuming a massive chunk of Manly's salary cap. If he retires due to injury, the Sea Eagles would potentially get some salary cap relief depending on how the NRL rules on medical retirements, but they'd also lose their biggest draw card, their most marketable player, and the centerpiece of their entire team structure. The club has built its game plan around Trbojevic when he's healthy, and losing him would require a complete rebuild that could take years. So there's enormous financial incentive for Manly to keep Turbo playing as long as possible, even if doing so risks his long-term health, and that perverse incentive structure is exactly what's allegedly led to this situation. The role of Manly's medical staff in allegedly managing Trbojevic's condition rather than recommending retirement has come under intense scrutiny. Club doctors have a dual obligation, to their employer who pays their salary, and to their patient whose health they're supposed to prioritise above all else. When those obligations conflict, when keeping a player on the field serves the club's financial interests but contradicts the patient's medical best interests, ethical medical professionals are supposed to prioritise the patient every time. But according to the leaked documents and insider allegations, Manly's medical team has allegedly been using pain management, cortisone injections, and other treatments to keep Trbojevic playing rather than recommending the career-ending surgery and retirement that his knee condition reportedly requires. If these allegations are proven, it could result in professional sanctions against the medical practitioners involved and potentially expose Manly to legal liability for negligence. Tom Trbojevic himself is in an impossibly difficult position, caught between his love of rugby league, his financial obligations under his contract, pressure from his club, and the medical reality of his deteriorating knees. Everything we know about Turbo suggests he's a competitor who would play through anything, who doesn't want to admit when he's beaten, and who probably genuinely believes he can overcome his injury problems through sheer willpower and determination. But at some point, someone needs to protect Turbo from himself, needs to sit him down and explain that continuing to play isn't bravery, it's risking permanent disability that will affect his quality of life for the next 50 or 60 years. The leaked documents suggest that conversations about retirement have already happened, that Turbo has been presented with medical evidence showing the severity of his knee damage, but that has been encouraged by club officials to push through for just a bit longer, to complete his contract, to play one more Origin series, to squeeze every last game out of his broken body before accepting the inevitable. The reaction from current and former players to news of Trbojevic's situation has been overwhelmingly sympathetic toward Turbo and critical of Manly's alleged handling of the situation. Multiple retired players have shared their own stories of being pushed to play through serious injuries by clubs more concerned with results than player welfare, and they've expressed concern that despite all the talk about player welfare improvements in recent years, the fundamental incentive structures in rugby league still encourage clubs to prioritise short-term performance over long-term health. Some former players have called for independent medical oversight of clubs' treatment of injured players, suggesting that team doctors shouldn't be the only medical voices advising players about their careers when those doctors are employed by organisations with financial interests in keeping players on the field. So here we are, watching one of rugby league's greatest talents allegedly being forced toward premature retirement at just 28 years old while his club allegedly hides catastrophic knee damage and pushes him to play Origin one last time for the money. It's heartbreaking, it's infuriating, and it exposes ugly truths about how professional sport treats athletes as assets rather than human beings whose long-term well-being should matter more than quarterly financial results.